Hi, beautiful souls. I just wanted to pop in and share a little bit about what I feel is happening with the energy at the start of this year, and also around, what happens when things just don't go to plan. Like when don't go to our plan. We thought something would happen, it's not happening. We expected something, and we've now got the opposite, or things just haven't turned out the way that we wanted them to. So firstly, how that relates to this year is I feel like the energy of this year, it's almost been a bit dicky, like one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, 10 steps back. It's been a really strange start to the year. I feel like we're still kind of carrying out the end of last year in some ways. And so if that is present for you too, I feel like, rest assured, I feel like we're going to start the new year afresh again. And maybe I was having a chat with a girlfriend yesterday, a dear friend, and we said maybe, let's just adopt the Chinese New Year calendar for this year, and perhaps the new year can start then at the beginning of February. And certainly for me, intuitively, that's what it feels like. The energy of this year is January is still wrapping up from last year, from 2017, and there's still lots of releasing to do. I know that I've been doing that, a whole lot of letting go, a whole lot of purging, a whole lot of surrendering, moving things out of my body, releasing things that no longer serve me. And so I'm still very much in that process. I don't feel like that's complete yet. And so maybe that's the case for you too. And if it is, then I just wanted to drop in and say, hey, if you're having a kind of funny start to the new year, then maybe you're not alone. The other thing that sort of reminded me of is, like, what is it when things don't go to plan for us? We have hopes and expectations and our own ideas about what we want for ourselves in our lives. And I see this within my own life, of course, and time and time again with clients when things don't go to plan and people are left in a state of upset or perhaps even deep grief. Whether it's miscarriages or not falling pregnant, or whether it's a job that you don't get, a promotion that doesn't come through for you, or a relationship that's not really panning out the way that you wanted to, or, who knows what it could be. But we have so many goals and wants and needs and desires, I think, that it can be really easy when things don't go to plan to get really devastated about that. And that's natural, right? That's part of being human. But I think there's also another way of being with those things, and the perspective that we choose, like, is influences our experience completely. And I think sometimes that it's really easy to get caught up in those external circumstances and be really attached to those external circumstances. Like, if the sale of the house goes through, then we'll be happy. Or if I get that job and I get that extra money, then I'll be happy. And we know that, there's always something else. Even if that does come through, there's always then the next thing that we'll be happy with or we'll be happy for. And so what does it really take for us to let go of those and release those external circumstances and come back into our own bodies and our own presence, dropping down into our body rather than being caught up in our head all the time? What does that take to be okay with when things are uncertain or they haven't gone to plan? I wanted to share around an experience that I had quite a few years ago now. But, I had my son Archie, and then we were trying to have another baby, and I felt pregnant, and I could feel the energy of this beautiful little soul present around me. And then I had a miscarriage. And that was right after we just told, like, a whole lot of our family and our friends that we were pregnant. And I was just devastated. I was so devastated that I'd lost that baby, and that grief that I experienced was awful. It was totally heartbreaking, and my heart felt like it was broken. It felt like it was being torn apart. And I just couldn't believe, actually, I knew that miscarriages happened a lot, but I couldn't believe that it was happening to me for some reason. I didn't think or expect it would. And then, you know, it took a long time for me to fall pregnant again with my daughter Violet. And let me tell you, all that shit, that wasn't my plan. You know, my plan was we'll have 2 kids, we'll have them about 2 years apart. And what ended up happening is we had them 4 years apart. And that time when I had that miscarriage, I didn't know why, and I couldn't understand why. And it didn't make sense to me, and all I was left with was a big broken heart. And what I've come to realise since then, you know, it's however many years down the track, and I'm so blessed to have Violet with us now, of course, as well as Archie, but I knew that she was that second soul that I miscarried. She came in again. What I know now is that gap in time, that gave me so much. It gave me an ability to open my heart, which happened through my grieving process. You know, I really honoured that grief of that miscarriage and what that experience was like for me. And in doing so, when we honour the grief and when, you know, we feel like our heart's just been torn apart, then we also have the possibility of opening up our hearts. So it can be the journey of heartache can be also the opening up of our hearts and the ability to be able to hold more love in that space and compassion as well, of course, for other people. So in hindsight, I can see how that heartbreak of the miscarriage really opened up my heart. It allowed me to be so much more compassionate towards other women and other people experiencing any kind of heartbreak. What it also allowed was for me to spend a whole lot more time with my son, just us, which I think that, you know, I've just come to realise recently how much he really needed that. And the other thing that I've realised that miscarriage allowed for was for me to come into a place where I was ready for my daughter to come into this world. You know, she needed a mum who was ready to step onto her soul path. She needed a mum who, I'm getting emotional, she needed a mum who had a really open heart. She needed a mum who, you know, who the woman that I turned into over those couple of years and how I've grown and within myself, and that's really what Violet needed. So now in hindsight, I have quite a few years down the track, I have all of this wisdom and a whole different perspective about why things have turned out the way they have. And, you know, sometimes when we're in the middle of it, we just don't see the why. We can't see the why. And asking those why questions often leads us down the rabbit hole. You know, it doesn't take us anywhere except for questioning a whole lot of stuff or maybe taking us downwards. So, you know, like if you've got something that's happening in your life that hasn't quite worked out the way that you thought it might, then perhaps there is that bigger reason for why. And perhaps you won't find out until later on and until you can start to move through what that experience is. You know, like how I needed to move through the grief of the miscarriage. And to get to that place of, you know, the wisdom starting to drop in, like, oh, maybe that's why, you know. So, and the other part about that is that, you know, especially in those times where we've followed our intuition and it hasn't worked out the way that we thought it would, like we thought it might be all sunshine and roses when we follow our intuition. And if following your intuition took a lot of courage to do that, you know, sometimes it does. For me, often it does. So if you've had experiences where you've followed your intuition and it hasn't worked out like all sunshine and roses, then I would say that you're exactly where you're meant to be. And maybe that's a really shitty thing that you don't want to hear, or you don't want to be in that place. But I ask you, like, you know, if our intuition is an expression of our soul, and our soul has the grand plan, the blueprint, the wisdom, the journey for this lifetime, then I'm just ask, you know, can you be in that place of whatever it is that it's brought up for you, and trust and surrender that your soul knows best and that your intuition knows best, and that the way that, you know, whether you followed your intuition or not, but the way that life is panning out for you is exactly what you need. Perhaps it's exactly what you need for your growth as a soul and as a person, and your journey towards opening your heart, even perhaps like it has been for me. So yeah, anyway, that's been quite probably a long video, so I hope you grabbed a cup of tea at the start, or a beer, whatever floats your boat. And yeah, and I hope that it's made a difference. You know, like the start of this year, it's been a strange sort of energy, and as I said, it's like one step forward, two steps back. Like, don't worry, just sit with it. Let's just hang out in this funny space together until we really get the ball rolling, which I feel like will happen next month in February. So yeah, that's it for now. Oh, also I've got in February, I've got my Mother's Medicine for the Soul course starting. The journey of my miscarriage, of course, is a perfect example of the types of things that we would hold in this space on this journey. The ups and downs of motherhood, and why things happen or why we're being triggered, and being able to have the support of a soul tribe and the support of doing this one-on-one exploration healing work with me, where we can, you know, get to the source of what's going on for you. So I only have a few places left in my Mother's Medicine for the Soul, and if you feel like that might be something that is making you feel a little bit excited and a little bit shitting yourself, then maybe it's for you. So if you are feeling like that, then please email me at healings@hotmail.com, or just send me a message on Facebook or text message or whatever, or check out my details on my website, which is donnawallace.com.au. So that's what's cooking in the teepee at the moment, Mother's Medicine for the Soul. I'm so excited. We've got some awesome couple of guest speakers coming in as well, which is going to be really cool. And it's just going to be such a beautiful, beautiful journey for the next 12 months together. I'm so excited. I can't wait to start it. So and the women who are already in it are just, it's just gorgeous. So if you feel like that might be for you, touch base with me and let's have a chat. All right, bye for now, gorgeous people.